Hello, hello.
Hey, what's going on?
What up, dude? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. I'm I had a pretty good day so far. I'm chilling. Looking forward to coaching you up, and yeah, doing pretty good.
Sweet.
So, as I do with everybody, go ahead and because this is our first time coaching, go ahead and let me know
hmm
just race and league and kind of a general idea of what you're thinking about working on.
Right now, I am in gold currently, just working my way up.
Okay.
Um, I'm doing your B2GM build, um, but but right now, like I'm able to max out in about 9 minutes, sometimes even faster than that.
Okay.
But the problem I'm running into is any aggression before that, I don't really know how to handle it.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you're maxed out at 9 minutes, that's already definitely not bad at all. Uh, did you have like a replay you wanted to take a look at?
Yeah, yeah, I have a couple of
Okay.
replays.
So probably the easiest way we could do this to make your life like way easier to follow along as well would
hmm
be if you have access to it. If you like title them or something, you could just find it in your computer, like a search or some shit, and then you can send it to me
Yeah.
on Discord. And
Yeah,
then
let me open up the folder.
sure. And then I'll just do a screen share with you, so you can see like what my perspective looks like while I look at your replay.
Yeah. And just send them through Discord.
Yeah, just like drag and drop it, like in the little private chat here where you typed.
Yeah, alright. Let me see.
And then, yeah. And so a lot of times too, while you're searching for it,
Yeah.
when people tend to have problems with all ins, in doing like especially in something like Gold League. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll continue what I was about to say in a second. But do you have a
Yeah.
preference of either one I should look at first?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, I'll just pick the first one.
Yeah, the first one, the one where it says 3, I lost, and then the fourth one, I think I won.
Okay. All right, I just shared my screen with you, so you should be able to see it now.
I
And then, yeah. So a lot of times what'll happen is it really comes down to, or which one are you actually? You're Heated Dragon or Jules?
Yeah, I'm heated.
Okay.
I'm heated.
So a lot of times, oh sorry, that's your Discord name. If I would have read it again, it would have made sense. But no, yeah, a lot of times it comes down to like how efficient is your opener, like in terms of
Mhm.
are you missing seconds doing yada 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 whatever. It
Mhm.
changes everything if you're gonna die or live to an all in. And the second thing is your Overlord Scout that just scouts
Yeah.
the front. You need to make a reaction proper based on what you see. Because if you don't react at all and your opponent is actually like not investing at all into expansions, there's a good chance you might take more damage than you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we'll get to it when we get to it. But so far, you're doing fine. You've actually stacked your close patches, which is beautiful. I love it.
Mhm.
Okay, so second Overlord. Not the biggest of deals so far, okay? Not the hugest of deals, but I would say definitely want to move it a little bit faster just so you can see if anything's going to be aggressive to you.
Yeah.
But it's really not that big of a deal because you're moving it anyways, so it's fine. Your build order for Gold League is totally fine. It's like it looks like you're going to go for, 17, 18, 20, which is it very much works. It's totally fine.
Yeah. And I have noticed as climbing, I do have some times where I just mess up the build order just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, like right now, so I thought you were gonna go 17, 18, 20, and right now it's getting a little fucked up.
Yeah.
So like you have a drone running up right now, and then I'm not really sure what he's gonna do. He might be trying to like be a second drone for that on accident, which is it's all good. But this was too early as well. It's one drone too early, so you're gonna have a little bit more larva sitting on the hatchery than you want, and it's gonna just lower your income.
Yeah.
All right, and then your gas is way too early. Way too early on the gas. This is gonna totally fuck your build up, especially if you saturate it right away. So your gas should be going down at 20, and the reason this is why your gas should go down at 20. Okay, I'm not just gonna say 20 and then you're gonna say, oh, okay, 20. So never fuck that up. I'm gonna explain the concept of why 20 matters. The reason why 20 gas matters is because that's around the same time when your pool's going to be almost like basically finishing. It's gonna be very close to when your pool's going to be done. And it's also going to give you a little bit of oversaturation on the mineral line until you're at 20, because you're going to have all these drones extra over 16. And when you have drones over 16, they still get efficient mining. It's not 100% efficiency, but it is still efficient. And the reason why this is so important is because your build you're doing right now is so mineral expensive and gas light that you really need every mineral you can get. Like it changes everything about your build, because you're making queens, hatcheries, drones, and evo chamber and roach warren, potentially a spine crawler. All these things don't cost gas. They literally cost 100% minerals only. So you need to maximize the minerals as much as you can. And by how early you took your gas, you've actually undersaturated your mineral line to take the gas. And you did the same thing with your pool, because you pulled a drone up here as well. So you're already mining what could have been 100% efficiency on this base is no longer that. And it changes a lot of the. If we add that up over each second, it definitely adds up over the course of like 2 minutes or something, or a minute. And then if you actually finish the gas and you rip 3 to saturate it immediately, and you go back down to like 13, it's going to be incredibly damaging to your economy again. And you're gonna be having a build where it's like, the way it's supposed to line up is you have 100 gas right as your queen finishes. So that's what a layer costs, and you can immediately take a layer. But if you do a gas saturated right away, what's going to happen is you're going to have probably like 220 gas as your queen finishes, and you can take a layer with 120 extra in the bank. And that's not free gas. That costs something, it means your minerals is going to be a lot lower than what it would have been too. So it's definitely like pretty damaging to your overall economy.
This was one of the games where it was just all over the place.
Sure, no, it's fine. It's all good. This happens, right? But I just want to make sure you know that like right now it's happening again. Okay, so you pulled the drone back, so I'm glad. But I'm glad that at least the mineral line is saturated as you're taking the gas. That's at least a plus. But with this build, you actually do want like a tiny bit of oversaturation for a little while with minerals. Again, just because the big thing to remember here is the goal is to have 100 gas as close to as you can as your queen is done. That's the main goal here. So if your gas is lopsided, where it's way too high as your queen's finished, it means you got to take your gas a little bit later, because you want to maximize those minerals a little bit more, because your build is so mineral heavy. It allows you to make everything that we just talked about a second ago, everything mineral based. So what's guaranteed what's gonna happen now is you're gonna be hitting 100 gas, and your queen is not even gonna be close to being finished. Your queen's gonna probably be like halfway done if you start it right away when the pool's done. So your queen is being a little delayed, and it's only gonna further push that back. So now your queen now will be probably a third of the way done, or like a fourth of the way done as you hit, probably like a third as you hit 100 gas now. So it's going to be like super far out. You're going to be like there as your gas hits 100. And that's definitely not what you want to go for. It's just kind of lopsiding your build a little bit.
So if this does happen and I realize that it's happening, is there any way to fix it at this moment?
So at this moment right now, if you've already invested into it the way you have, I would say just keep going with it and try to make the most of it from where you are now, because you've kind of already missed the moment where it would have mattered. And now if you fuck it up more and you like take off and you put it back on again, it's not really going to help you as much anymore. It's really just to boost your economy before you really go into gas. But now that you've gone into gas, the biggest thing I would say is if you ever go into gas too early and you're like, oh, I got 13 and I got 3, you should definitely pull off and go back to 16 and then fill up the gas later. But as long as you're 16, it's not the worst. It's not like the worst ever, but it's definitely the investment of what you've done. It just doesn't really make sense for the reason that all your initial gas is for really fast is for your layer, and you're gonna have way more than you need for a layer.
Yeah.
Because let me explain it like this. Okay, this is why this is really matters a lot. So what you're gonna go into in a second here, and also your queens were delayed too. So to keep that in mind, that it's gonna make it easier to afford this, because your queens were delayed by probably like 7-8 seconds. But if your queens were exactly on time and you injected both your hatcheries right as your queens finished, you would get 6 larvae all at once, and that's around the same exact time when you want to also throw down your Roachhorn and your Evo Chamber and your double gas at your natural. So you have 4 buildings you're going to make, and you have 6 larvae you're going to make. And you also need to make sure you're not supply blocked, so you need to make sure you have a little bit of an overlord cushion right as that's about to happen, like, or like a little bit before it. Like, you want to have at least like 15 open supply or like 10 plus open supply as you go into that, so you're not going to just immediately supply block. And you also need to do this as well around the time you're going to be taking your 3rd queen, which is coming out of your natural. So all these things together like roughly add up to like 700 or 800 minerals worth of cost. And it's no gas. Like, it doesn't cost gas to make these buildings. It's all minerals. And for you to be able to afford that with how early you take your gas now and how it it makes your resources a little bit more in the gas heavy area and less in the mineral heavy area, it's going to be really expensive it's going to feel expensive to afford that. The only thing that's going to make it feel like you can afford it a little bit better now is that your queens are late, and it's going to make this whole timing happen later now, which gives you more time to buy minerals. But if you're making your timings later, now you're more vulnerable to dying to shit. Like aggression.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, your queen pops out. You have 148 in the bank right now. We'll move past it, but yeah. And also, you don't need to do not ever make links with this build. Never make links. So there's a few things that are happening to you, like the gas is fucking you over, the late queens are fucking you over, the early messed up mineral line a little bit here and there is fucking over, how the drones are running up and like you were under 16 for like about 40 seconds or so. All these things are slowing you down repeatedly, because the whole goal right now is, if you see that this guy has done this, okay? If let me just back it up to your initial scout for a second, for some logical understanding of like exactly what is capable of your opponent right now. If you see this right here, and you just look at that for a second, there's 2 things that you need to pay attention to that make this really, really, really obvious as to what is happening right now. The first thing you need to pay attention to is the comparison of his base to your base. And you go, okay, well, his hatchery is like literally about to finish in like a second, and so is mine. Excuse me, sorry. So both your guys' bases are literally like a second or 2 from being done. It's looking like you guys got pretty much the same build going on here. And the second thing you want to look at, just to double confirm this, if you like, this is something that you'll probably pay attention to a little bit more as you get higher in league, but it is still relevant. For a Zerg to be doing a build that seems normal, their natural should be finishing at about 2 minutes. And that's, it's going to be finishing about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And yours is finishing at about 2 minutes as well. Like, you're both like right about to be on par for the course here. So those 2 things tell you that this guy has no form of aggression. And what I mean by that is, he can still attack you at some point in this game. He can still attack you 45 seconds to 1 minute from now. That is still very possible. But he can't attack you right now, because he went for an expansion first. So all this means is you can now look at this and go, all right, well, if his hatchery is like my hatchery, it means his pool is like my pool. And your pool, if I back it up another like 5 seconds, just finished. This is guaranteed. Like, there's no like chance that this isn't the case. So if this is the case, this is the great thing about this, is you will now always see if a unit leaves his base with your overlord. So you'll always be alerted before it happens. If he were to rush you after this, like 30 seconds from now, Lings are running out of his base or something, you would see it happening before it gets to your base. And there's 2 things about this that make this really easy to defend. The first thing is you'll have queens in time to defend that, because you can start your queens right now, essentially. And the second thing about it, like over the next like couple seconds, out of your natural. And the second thing about this that's really important, that makes this really easy to defend, is it's enough time is going to go by for your natural to spread creep, okay? And if your opponent decides to make a bunch of lings and all in you, and you watch him go out of his base with like 16 lings or something, or like 20 lings run out of his base about 1 minute from now, because all he did was make lings, and then he now from this point right now when his pool's done, he makes lings and attacks you 1 minute from now with 16 lings. And like the thing about that too is, this is another timer to keep in mind, okay? 1 minute from now, he still couldn't have speed, because speed is longer than 60 seconds for an upgrade. It's 79. So you would see lings running, like we're just assuming he's gonna all in you as fast as he can. And 16 lings leave his base without speed, and they get speed by the time they're like halfway across the map or something. You could literally just build Evo chambers and wall your base off. You could totally do that. So there's like nothing to really be afraid of here at all if you just make drones, is the point I'm trying to make to you. Like there's no reason to make lings, because if you make lings, all that's gonna happen is they're gonna sit there in front of your base and do nothing. And it could have been drones, and that's a larva you could have used on a drone, instead you used on a ling that's idle and sitting there. So that's why you want to really like steer away from making lings ever. I would genuinely say you should never make a Zergling until you're in Diamond League, no matter what matchup it is. Because like the one that makes the most sense would be Terran, because of the potential Reaper. But I'm going to tell you right now, nobody in Plat, Gold, Bronze, or Silver uses the Reaper correctly, and they also don't hit timers correctly. So if you just go, oh well, even though he could have a Reaper, I'll just wait till I have a Queen, and then if a Reaper gets into my base and starts poking my drone, I'll just try to run the drone to like a gas and build a gas, or I'll just build like a spore crawler just for like a second, and then my Queen spawns and I cancel the spore or I cancel the gas, and then I go back to mining. And the amount of times you'll have to do that would be like almost never. Like it would probably be like 5% of your games that you'll have to do that in. Like it's really low, because most Terrans won't even hit the timer properly. They'll be like, I got a Reaper in your base, and your Queen's already out, and you're like, okay, well, Queen, just push him away, and we're good to go again. So yeah, like it's all about just squeezing out those drones like ASAP, and just maximizing that as much as you can. So yeah, nothing to be afraid of here. And the moment from your opponent. Okay, and then as soon as the Queen's done on both your bases, you want to do two things. Immediately make a lair, and immediately make a third Queen out of your natural. So you need to like do it right away as they're done to be on par with timers here. The reason why you want to do that so much is because your third Queen at the natural, it helps you start your creep spread a little bit faster. You can start practicing your creep a little bit, and it also gives you more defense if they decide to attack you. So you just another Queen is great, especially when you combine that with a potential wall that you could make. It would be amazing.
Yeah.
Queen birth.
Nice inject. Want to see that layer, and then nice Queen over there. I love it. Okay, good job. You did both. I love it. And then you should be making. So this is when you do this. Oh, you also made 6 lings here. That's brutal. That's pretty drony, boys. But what you want to be aiming for now is you want to really pay close attention to the gray bar above the hatchery. And as soon as that bar is done, like right when it pops off, I would say grab 2 drones and make sure they don't have minerals in their hands, ideally. So if they do, you can go. Like, I'll give you an idea of what you can do. Okay, but like I'll tell you how you can micro it. But first, I'll just tell you the concept. As soon as your eject is like about to pop off, okay, it's like just like a second away. The whole time you're looking at this bar, I want you to also look at the supply. Make sure you're not going to supply block. Try to make sure you have like a 10 supply cushion here. And so you need to make another overload right now, if you're not already doing it. And you don't have an overload started, so you definitely want to start one like right now. And then as soon as it's about to pop off, you would take 2 drones and right click up in the front of your base, and if they happen to have minerals in their hands, you could right click here, hit C, and then as soon as they return cargo, right click one more time. Or you could right click here, hit C, hold shift, right click again. Because if you hit C and you don't do anything else after that, they'll just go back to mining the mineral patches, and then that's not what you want. You want to make sure you want the drone to go up there because you want to build your Roachhorn and your Evo chamber as you're making your drones. So it would just be like, even if you send the 2 drones off the mineral line right after you build the drones, that's also not a big deal. That's fine. It would just mean you're going to build your buildings maybe like 3 seconds later. It's not that the hugest of deals. But you could do it faster if you did the first thing I said. But the goal here is spin your larva first, and then right after make your buildings. So you're going to be going all your larvae into as many overlords as you need, and then making all of the rest into drones. And then again, you only need one right now to have a supply cushion of 10 plus. That's all you really want. Like anywhere between 10 and 15 is great when you're going to explode larvae like this, because you're about to get 6 at once. And then yeah, and then Evo Chamber Roachhorn, trying to line it up as part of the wall. That way, now if this guy decided to, keep this in mind too. Remember what I said a second ago about how he couldn't even have started speed? And like 60 seconds would have gone by and he'd be running out of his base with slow links.
Yeah.
If you would have your Evo Chamber Roachhorn started in the next like 10 seconds, he still wouldn't have speed until like a couple seconds after that. Like generally speaking, a Speedling Expand build doesn't usually finish speed until like 325 to like 330. So, on the clock is what I mean. So you would have enough time to go, okay, Roachhorn, Evo, and then you'd have one building missing. And if you saw a flood coming out of his base, you could just fill in the last one building with one more Evo. And you'd be like, cool, well, now I got it walled off. And now I got 2 queens behind the wall. I could even inject my main base and pull this queen down and have 3 queens behind the wall if I really wanted to like be super defensive here. And then just start making roaches as soon as your Roachhorn's done. Like it's very doable is what I'm trying to say. And,
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how this goes for you.
So for your creep queen, would you do your creep start spreading out into the map first, or connect your natural to your main?
I would. That doesn't really matter a whole lot for now. You should do both, but if you want to do the out in the map, okay, let's say it like this. We'll say it like this. Always do out towards the map first, and then do the second creep timber towards your main. And the reason why is because I don't want to make this confusing and be like, some maps do it, some maps don't. Just do it all the time. And the reason why is because not every map will be like this, where you can get an easy wall with the hatchery from the creep. Or the creep from the hatchery. Some maps will have the ramp a little bit further away. So it'll be like, you know, oh, I can't fit an Evo there because it's an unbuildable area. I don't have creep there because the ramp is too far from the creep of the hatchery. So, yeah. This is one thing you gotta be careful about though, okay? Be careful about not blocking your building with a creep teamer though. Like, don't put a creep teamer right there.
Yeah.
So if you can put it on the ramp itself, that's great. That's the best place ever to put it. But if you can't do that, put it closer to the hatchery, like right there. And then you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can just continue it from there. Yo guys, I'm talking to stream right now. Guys, chill on the farts for a second. If you guys don't though, I gotta mute it because this is a coaching lesson and I forgot to turn that off. But I'd appreciate it if you don't fucking make the shit fart all the time. All right, so okay, let's see what's going on here. All right, and then we got another. So okay, on this part too, your gas is a little bit delayed. You definitely want to aim for that gas a bit faster on your natural. So like, gas is too early on your main, and gas is too late on your natural. You want to definitely start your gas on your natural around the time when, like, just after you, like, basically this is the concept, okay? Larva #1 priority. Always prioritize that over everything else. Like, make sure you spend it ASAP. And then secondly, start your buildings at your front of your base, like the Evo Chamber and the Roachhorn, and then right behind that, make your gases as soon as you can afford it, as long as you have no larva. So if you build the buildings here and now you have 2 larvae again on the hatcheries, definitely, and you only have like 90 minerals in the bank, definitely make the 2 larvae as soon as you can into drones again, and then make the gas. But do it like as soon as you can once you have no larva, like right away, because your gas, like what's gonna happen now is, it's kind of weird, but this is actually gonna somewhat work out for you now. As soon as these buildings are done, you have a 200 gas expense of making upgrades, which is +1 missile weapons and movement speed for roaches. And then on top of that, you need to start making roaches because you're going to be done droning. So you have another like 150 gas expense to make 6 roaches because each one costs about 25 gas. So you have a like 350 gas expense that you're looking at really soon here. And Your gases are going to be a little bit late now, so it's going to be hard to afford that now when you need it. But because you took your first gas a little early, you have this like little bit of a gas bank that's now going to allow you to still do it. It's not good to bank shit though, and then use it later. Yeah. It's good to use it as you need it and optimize your resources that way. So that's why the reason why I'm kind of making this, talking about it. But yeah, so optimize your economy to make the this is actually a big point I want to make here too. That a lot of people think about this, and they get overwhelmed by it. But I want to make sure you understand this, and everyone else listening that understands this as well. Optimizing your resources only needs to happen in the opener of a build. It does not need to be optimized your entire build. Because once you have all the drones mining all your resources, it doesn't matter. You get a lot of resources. And then it becomes about, what do I want to make? Do I want to make this unit or that unit or this unit? Like, you have options then. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But in an opener of a build, your resources need to be optimized for what your opener is. And then it makes, no matter what build you go into from that point on, better. So it's really, your opener definitely, you want to make sure everything's optimized in the opener. It's super important.
Yeah. So for taking the gases in other bases, would you say you'd want to take them when your minerals were in the red or when they were fully saturated?
Right about.
Drones coming in?
You'd want to take them as close to 16 as possible. And I would say this: if you see 12 or anything above 12, it's totally fine to take your gas at new bases and beyond. So try to mostly saturate your mineral line, and then you can start the gases, and then you're good to go. Because if you're still making, or go ahead, sorry.
Oh, and then a hatchery at that time also, or after you do gases.
So either one's fine. You're talking about like if you have 12 here, you can take another base here. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. That's fine too. You can do it gas first and then hatchery, or hatchery first and then gas. Either way is fine. But just know that either way you do it, either the other one should be happening really soon. Either way, like it. So there shouldn't be like gas here and then 45 seconds goes by and then you expand. That's bad. It should be like gas here and then 4 seconds goes by and then you expand, or vice versa. Expand, 3 seconds goes by and then you take your gas. Like, it should be, they should be close together, because you want to keep your base flowing. So you're but you should be always maximizing the minerals first, and then preparing your gas in your next base. That's how that should feel. And again, remember, larva is always priority. So always make sure you're spending your larva first. So like, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's just say you're at 9 drones on this mineral line, okay? And you have 3 more drones that are about to pop off, like out of the eggs. I mean, like they're like 2 seconds from finishing, and your inject just popped off as well. This does happen sometimes, and if this happens, and now you have 9 larvae on 3 bases, because it's 3 larvae per inject, and you have 3 bases, so 3 times 3 is 9. And then you're at 12 because you had 9 drones a second ago, and now 3 more drones finished, and now you have 9 larvae. Which now, you have 9 larvae, 12 drones here, and you're like, well, Vibe said 12 plus means I gotta either take my gas or take my base. But let's just say, hypothetically, you only have 350 minerals, and a hatchery costs 300. I would not tell you that's time to expand right now. Because if you have 350 minerals, and you have 9 larvae on the ground right now, that larva needs to be spent first. And if you're gonna make 9 drones, that's 9 times 50, which is 450 minerals. So you can't even afford to spend all 9 larvae yet. And you need to spend it as fast as you can. So I would say make 7 of them right away out of the 350 that you have. Save, like, as long as you have at least 1 or 0 larva per hatchery, you're good to go then. So if you spent the initial 350 on larva and then you expanded, I'd be like, okay, that's great, good job. Or gas and then expand, that's great again. As long as you have almost no larva on your hatcheries, you can do other expenses. But if you have that much, if you have 9 larvae sitting there, that's not time to save your money to expand and then save again to then spend it later, because you don't want a larva cap. The reason why this is so important, okay, is because if you let larvae sit there and you do other expenses as a priority over your larva, and you have 3 larvae on a hatchery, that hatchery stops generating larvae, and that's the worst thing in the world you can do for Zerg. Never ever let your larva cap out like that. So you need to be really on point about spending your larva too when injects pop off, because as soon as an inject pops off, you're capped.
Yeah.
And every second that goes by that you don't spend it, you don't generate what is 50% of your larva. Because larva automation is 1 larva every 10, and larva inject is 3 every 30, and they both have a common denominator of 3 every 30. Like, they both get to the same point. So if you're just not generating larva because you're just leaving larva on the hatchery, it totally fucks you. Like, really bad for Zerg.
And then would you do, like, an overlord every time you inject or larva pops up?
Yeah, you can. That's fine. I would say you could, if you really wanted to make it super easy for yourself, you could do 1 larva per hatchery you have that's being injected every time you inject. So you go, okay, I mean, I just injected 2 hatcheries, let's make 2 overlords.
Okay.
It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to definitely help you not supply block.
Yeah, because I've been running into that a lot lately.
Yeah, I would say if you run it, like, this happens to everybody, but everybody learns this eventually. If you supply block a lot, it means you don't look at the top right of the screen enough. And you need to look there a lot. You need to look there a shitload. Like, you need to look at the top right of the screen. You don't need to look there. So this, again, it's the same thing I said a second ago. A lot of people get the misconception about how StarCraft is. You don't have to look at top right the entire game. You just have to look at it for the opener of the game. And in the opener of the game, you should be looking at it genuinely about once every 3 to 5 seconds. Like it's like checking your mirrors in your car or something like that. I don't know. When, like, you're, like, reversing or something. Like, you got to really pay attention to that. It's super important. And then, but once you're at a point where you're like, cool, oh, now I'm just kind of done droning, and I'm just making roaches and hydras all game, or just, like, mass hydras. You don't gotta check it as much anymore. You just as long as you have, like, 200 supply in the max, you're good to go. You're like, who gives a shit? You never really have to check it ever again. Just constantly try to make hydras, or whatever. But yeah, the opener, you definitely have to check it a lot. Yeah. And right about now too, you'd want to have your third base. Nice, you're doing it exactly. Okay, perfect.
And does it matter where the third base goes?
No, it's fine. I was just saying there, but if you went here too,
Yeah.
that's totally fine. It's totally fine. Okay, so there's a couple things though that are out of order here for you. One of the things being, you definitely want to make sure. I'm glad you're making drones again. That's fine, but it's not. That's again. It's little details that are kind of fucking you repeatedly. But one thing that's messed up for you is you never started verge speed, which is going to totally make defense harder now. So you definitely want to make sure that that's one of the expenses you're getting. This is why you get the layer. This is the only reason why you rush the layer right here. It's not about this. Like, this becomes a layer necessity eventually, but you don't need to rush a layer for this because you can still get this at hatchery tech. This is the only the roach speed is the only thing in your build that you're getting because you got the layer. So that needs to be a priority. That's the whole reason why you're doing it. And then another thing that should be done as well is you want to go to 17 out of 16 here, so you don't undersaturate when you pull off to take an expansion. So you're a little bit late on the one drone. And again, it's a little detail, but it does slow down your economy again. Another thing, don't ever get this upgrade. Do not ever get metabolic boost for now. I think the whole emphasis of lings is fucking you in this way, and then it's also slowing you down here because you're getting ling speed when you should be getting roach speed. It's the same cost as well for both of the upgrades. So a little bit damaging to you, like for what's happening here. Another thing too is your fourth queen is way too early. So what you want to do, like just like I said earlier, how you want to aim to have like 100 gas as you take the layer, so it's like perfectly lined up. You want to aim to have a fourth queen as your third queen starts injecting the third base. So if you understand, like this is something just to understand. One queen is about 50% of the hatchery's build time. So you should start the fourth queen as soon as your third base hits the 50% mark. That's ideally where you want to be like aiming for. Because what'll happen then is your third queen can still creep timber for a while. And then as soon as it gets replaced, because or as soon as it needs to be replaced because it's going to become an injector, a new queen spawns. And if you fuck it up and you're like, I would say it's okay to fuck it up a little bit too late, or make it on time, but don't make it too early because then it fucks up your larva, and it makes it hard to afford things that you need to be utilizing right now.
Yeah.
So definitely make it at half or a little bit later than half if you forget about it. Like if it'd be okay even if you make it like at the end of the hatchery and you start it as the hatchery finishes, because you still have active tubers you could be spreading. And this is something you should be practicing on too. Definitely spread your tubers. This is a concept you should understand too. A creep tuber can spread faster than you could create it. So you can create tubers out of your queen slower than you can spread them. This tuber's cooldown is faster than a queen can generate larva or creep to spread it again by like a few seconds. So yeah, definitely make sure like this tuber could have already spread. Like every time you make a new tuber, you should be spreading every other active tuber you have. Essentially, you don't have to like do it perfectly every time. Like I'm not saying every single second needs to be maximized and you have to always catch every one of them. But just remember, a good concept to remember with creep, every time you make a tuber, spread every active tuber you have at the same time. That's like a combination right there. So I have 3 active tubers. I need to spread all 3 of them while I make my 4th. Now I have 4 active tubers. I need to spread all 4 of them as I make my 5th. You'd always do that. Like never ever not do that. The only time it ever makes sense to not do that is, and let's just say hypothetically, this tuber right here spread to the main repeatedly, and it spread itself all the way down to there. And you're like, well, it's kind of like it can't really go anywhere else, but I covered my main, so this tuber now can it just is what it is. It's just I'm not going to spread it backwards and have it always be behind my other creep tubers, because it's not spreading anything then at that point. It doesn't make sense. So that'd be okay there. But like every other tuber, if it's going outwards on the map, like in a direction that needs creep, always spread it. Every time you make a tuber, spread all your active tubers every time. And do it in a way, this is something I explained to B2GM, but I'll say it one more time right now, because it makes it really easy. Always go from left to right or from right to left. Like do the edge of the map, whatever your tuber is furthest on one side, do that first and then work your way to the other side. It doesn't matter what side you pick first, just work your way from one side to the other. So you're not going in the middle going, like it'd be like going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Instead of going 2, 4, 1, 6, 3, 5. And it's like, okay, this is complicated. Now I gotta remember every time when they're up again, I gotta go bounce back and forth repeatedly. And it just makes it super awkward. So just go left to right or right to left, and it makes it super easy.
All right.
Yeah, right now, these leagues are fucking you so bad. You're moving them around, and you're scouting, and you're not injecting, and you're not spending your larva, and you're not spending your creep. And I'm going to tell you right now, all 3 of those things I just said, larva, creep, and injects, are more important than this. So you're definitely prioritizing the wrong thing right now. And definitely do not attack either. So the fact that you're moving out the map right now is super scary, because this is conceptually, this is why this is scary. This is something that's advanced, okay? You're not going to really deal a lot with this, because what you should be doing is you should be never attacking until you max out. But I want to just explain a concept really fast why this is scary. You're making drones right now, and you're not making army, which increases the chance that this is going to fail if it attacks, because you're not reinforcing it. You're basically barely. It'd be like let me give you an analogy. It'd be like saying you're in a fight with somebody, but instead of going full on with all your power into like a punch and punching them, you just kind of like initiate the fist and you start punching them, but it's like a wet noodle kind of a punch, and you like barely even like, you just kind of like push them a little bit. You're like, like I'm not really investing a lot into this. It's just like a little bit of a tap, and then they just like retaliate by going full power into you, and they just like smash you. And you're like, okay, well, that was maybe not the best idea to punch them right there, because they fucking punched me really hard, and I didn't really punch them that hard. It's the exact same thing in StarCraft. If you make drones behind an attack that is not really invested into, this is not going to do much. Like, basically all you're doing is you're making your units in a vulnerable position, because they're going to go over here, and they could get run over and die. And if they do that, all that happens then is you have no army to fall back on because you made drones, and now you start making army, and you might lose the game because your opponent just counter pushes you and kills you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so this is not the time to attack with 4 roaches and 6 lings.
Yeah, and the reason the roaches are there is because I had accidentally put the rally point over there instead of like near my base, so that's why they're
Oh sure,
over
okay, yeah,
there.
that sucks. Okay,
Yeah.
sure, no, for sure. But yeah, definitely make sure if you ever notice something like this happening, definitely pull back right away. Do not
Okay.
initiate an attack here. This is not the time to
Yeah.
attack at all. Because if you're droning, that's the worst time to attack.
Yeah.
Because if your opponent's not droning and he's making units, that's the time that he kills you then.
Mm-hmm.
Swarm has evolved.
Alright, now your base over here. Be really careful too. Every time you make a building, replace those drones. Because now you made a baneling nest, which you should never make. Don't ever make this
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. But no matter what you do make, let's just pretend this was a Hydra den. Fix those drones though. You gotta really maximize that 16 into 16. And you're having same thing here. You made a Hydra den here, and you're 15 now. And let's just hit play. And if you don't fix this within the next 12 seconds, which it's already been more than 12, because that's how a drone takes 12 seconds, and it's been more than 12, which means that this might not be fixed at all. But if however much time goes by, your economy is weaker again, and it's another little mistake that slows you down like crazy.
Yeah.
Sequences spawn.
Your gas timing here was totally fine. Your expansion timing here was totally fine. That was good. That was really good. The way you did that was great. But this is not great. This is definitely slowing you down like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing to keep in mind too. Try to remember to always make your second Evo chamber as you make your Hydra den. Because you want to start, when you start this upgrade of like Hydra speed or Hydra range, doesn't really matter which one you pick first. You want to pair that with getting +1 carapace. And you want to pair that as well. Like the timing of your Hydra den was great, by the way, because what you really want to be doing is you want to be getting your Hydra den as you are saturating your third, okay? Like you want to have like your larva first, and you have a bunch of drones getting ready to saturate your third as you start your Hydra den, as that's all happening. So that's a great timing on your Hydra den, great timing on your fourth, great timing on your third gas. All that shit was great. But if you paired that with getting +2 weapons, +1 carapace, and also Hydra upgrade, that would be amazing. That's like perfect.
Okay.
And then as soon as you start that too, and your third base is getting really well saturated, don't forget to take your final gas in your main base. Don't forget that.
Okay.
So this is the last gas you'll take. Like you could pair this gas with the gas at your third, and that's totally fine.
Okay.
Because you'll have a bunch of drones being made at that point. Yeah, so yeah, like obviously, as you said, it's about to happen, right? But now all these roaches and lings that just died, like obviously the lings don't really matter. It's just a waste of larva. But the roaches that are dying, all that happens now is they have to be rebuilt. So they're gonna get rebuilt and restart. So you're like replacing what's dying, and he's overwhelming you here. Nothing for him really dies here because he's got like 4 times your number here. So he runs you over, loses nothing, and then he gets an advantage going across the map to kill you now, which is the scary part. So lots of stuff that could have been fixed overall for you throughout this game. Like you definitely could have sped yourself up a lot faster. Like if you, for instance, the big one, let's, because you're definitely dead right now, but we will recap on the big moments of this game. Number one, the big one, is you made lings. That was really bad. It totally like you basically pretend that you just deleted your drones, and that's what the equivalent was, because those lings did absolutely nothing. Like nor should they. Like I'm not telling you to do more with your lings. The fact that you made them fucked you over. That was more than you probably realize. The second thing that messed you up was how you microed the lings and you did not inject your bases. And you like stopped macroing while you were running back and forth checking for a third. And you did that for like 40 seconds because you missed 2 injects on your queen when that happened. And that was brutal. Like on both hatcheries. And that was massive. That was so, those lings fucked you so much more than I could even begin to, like, you know, it's just a lot. And then the third thing that fucked you up, that's still important, but not as important as the first 2, is your lack of properly saturating your bases at proper times. So your gas in your main fucked you a little bit with the drones that were like missing here and there. And your gas being super late here fucked you a little bit too, because it kind of makes it harder to afford your proper units and your upgrades at right times. But all that fucked you up, and it slowed you down.
Yeah.
And in the order I said them in is the order it fucked you up on, I would say, too. Otherwise, you played a good game. And if you would have fixed those things, it would have definitely made your life more realistic here to not die to this. For sure.
Yeah, this one game, I really strayed away from the build, like, a lot. But
No, for sure.
I think the reason I did that was because I was just afraid of getting all in like I have before, so I was like, oh, fine, I'll just make some lanes to make sure that he's not doing anything sneaky.
I'm gonna give you a quiz, and then I'll give you an answer if you know, if you have a problem here with it. If you get all in the future, what are you gonna do?
I don't know.
Don't forget what I said. So definitely watch this VOD again. And things like this are important, right? Because like in the, I wanted to put you on the spot there because it's exactly what's going to happen to you in your game when you're on the spot. And you're like, oh fuck, he's all in. What am I going to do? I'll make lings. I don't know. But what you should be doing is build Evo chambers if they all in you super fast, wall off, and if they don't all in you super fast, but they still all in you eventually, you'll already have these two buildings down. Add a third Evo chamber. Remember, the best thing you can do against all-ins when you're playing this style that I'm showing you here, or that you're emulating with a B2GM style, is a wall. Just wall off. Because what that does is it buys you time, and that time that you're being bought allows you to make a bunch of roaches to crush the all-in. And meanwhile, while you're walled off, your queens are killing shit on the other side. The wall off is so good. It is so good. Two reasons why it's really good is because, especially in ZVZ, if you get all in, a lot of times it's by melee units, like a bunch of lings. And lings get they get limited amounts of surface area on these buildings when you build them on the ramp like this. Only like 3 lings can hit each building because of the fact that only a little bit of the building is exposed if they're stacked up like this. Like the whole building is not going to be fully surrounded because you can't get through the wall. So what it does is it really limits the amount of DPS lings can do, and it buys you a lot of time to build things behind your wall like roaches, or you could even add more wall to your wall that already exists, like Tetris. Like think about playing Tetris where you like make another line over another line you just made, and another line and another line. You just fill in, like, you could go, for instance, if I had a wall here like this, okay? Evo chamber there above your existing one, and then you have Evo chamber roach horn. And let's just say he's breaking the Evo chamber in the middle. You could put an Evo chamber right there, and you could put an Evo chamber right there. And you've created another, like, seal for the Zerg, essentially. The only thing about this, though, so this is going to be kind of hard to explain, or like kind of hard to understand. It's the concept's pretty easy, but visually you'll have to kind of like imagine it. If you build an Evo chamber here on the right of it exactly and on the bottom of it exactly, there would actually be a corner to corner block here, so lings could fit through the very center of it. So you'd have to build like another Evo chamber in the middle, and if you couldn't build it, you could like put your queen or something right in between them and have it hold position. That'd be fine too. Like if he was going for the roach one, you could build another one below it and another one to the right of it. And this one would actually be perfectly blocked because only a little bit of the roach horn's exposed. So like it's actually, you'd be building the Evo chamber on the right side a little bit lower than what the roach horn is. The only reason why this Evo chamber in the middle would be kind of hard to defend if you went for the middle one instead, and you'd have to build 2 and then have a queen block, is because you're not building the Evo chamber on the right. You're building it on the top, most likely. And the reason why you're doing that, this is really important to know this stuff. Even though if you did build it on the right, it would still wall off, and you wouldn't have to hold position to queen here. You could actually build an Evo chamber on the right side that's a little lower, just like the roach horn does, and then another one below it. The reason why it's so important to build it on the top instead of on the right is because if you build it on the top, it limits the amount of surface area your opponent has on your buildings like crazy. But if you built it on the right, think of how many lings could attack your Evo chamber on the top and then the bottom. That's like 8 lings could attack this Evo then if you built the third one on the right. So you want it, if you built it on the top, as you can see now, the Evo chamber in the middle has very limited amounts of open space. Like 2 on the top, maybe 2 on the bottom if you wanted to attack it. Or otherwise you could attack 3 on the top, 3 in the middle, 3 on the bottom. Which is very limited. Either way, the whole point I'm trying to make here is a wall fucking owns all ins. It really does. And then it, like a lot of times too, if we go back, look how fast. Even though I feel like you could have done this a little bit faster, look how fast you're basically fully saturated. Like, look at the time when you build the roach warren. So you're starting the roach warren right now. The timing you took it was correct. You take it after your first inject. And if you went for speed right away, speed would be finishing about now, which means that if he hasn't left his base yet, he'd be leaving his base soon to then have speed. Yeah. So, like any second now. And your mineral line has 9 on it, and you have 5 more being produced. So you're about to go up to 14 drones on the mineral line. And it's about to go back to the 13 because you're... Actually, no, it's not because you already took one off. This actually doesn't count. So it's going to be... Because you can tell because it's going that way.
Yeah.
So it's going to be... You're going to be at 14 drones already, which is a lot. And you could very easily afford shit with this, like Evo Chamber, Evo Chamber, Evo Chamber, and then go into, like, your roaches right away. Just start going into roaches right away if your opponent's super all in. And it's super doable. Another thing you should be... so this is something, actually, I'm glad we went back, because I want to tell you one more thing we missed out on, and it's this guy right here. This guy needs to be fixed. You want to make sure your Overlord... So, you don't need to be scouting with Lings, but you do need to scout better with your Overlords. And this is what I mean by that. The way you scouted his base, I'm totally cool with it. I loved it. I love that you scouted the natural and you backed off. That's totally... I'm not telling you guys scout the main or anything like that. Just when you back off, though, the vision of your Overlord, like the edges of the vision here, should be at the edges of the ramp.
Okay. Because
right now, what could happen is if I'm a Zergling that spawns right here, and I go like this, I'm spawning, and I go, oh, okay, let's go attack my opponent. And then he's like, gets across the map all the way to here in Vaga War. Because the only way he gets through your Overlord is if he goes like this. Okay, let's go down the lower side of this ramp over here. So, like, he could go this way and dodge you. He could go this way and dodge you. And obviously your Lings wouldn't exist if you didn't make them, so those wouldn't be there. But what you should do, scout his base, like, right here with your Overlord, whatever. Just see what's going on. Pull back to, like, right there. And the reason why is because... Think about the difference of, like, just kind of, like, memorize that. Pretend this is the Overlord in the middle of the green box here. And now this is the vision of, like, the radius of the Overlord's vision. Not the diameter, like, the whole circle, but, like, just the half circle here. Now, that size of that box right there is probably about that size of that box right there. Right? It's about the same, like, roughly. So if you put your Overlord right there, you'll probably see the edge of the... Like, you can also... You'll see the vision, too, right? So you don't have to guess it either. Just make sure the edges of the vision is, like, covering the edges of the ramp. You definitely don't want your vision up here, though, because that would mean your Overlord's, like, right there. And that would mean your Overlord's super exposed to dying to a Queen that just pushes forward. But if your Overlord's out here a little bit, the Queen would have to walk off creep for a little while to catch you and start attacking you, and you could then just fly away. And be like, cool, I'll just fly down, like, to the right and then down straight so I could, like, go over a cliff and make your Queen get fucked up and it can't actually attack anymore.
So on maps that have multiple exits for the base, would you want more Overlords just
That's what exactly
over there?
I'm really glad you said that. Your brain's already in the right the mindset, because that's exactly where I was going next. And yes, you would want an Overlord like right here on this map, and then you'd want another Overlord probably like right there, and you want another Overlord probably like right there, or like right over here. That way you can see the right side, you can see the middle side, and or the middle part, and you can see the left side. And then you can put another Overlord with your other Overlords, one like right there. Like you could reverse it, one right here, one over here, and then like one over here or something. So you have like multiple like catches of when units cross. And then on other maps too, where let's just hypothetically say this guy puts a creep tumor down. And you're like, oh, okay, well he's got creep. I don't want to, do I still want to sit here even though creep is like coming at me? I could die. And I'd be like, no, definitely back up. But as soon as you back up, cover the exits, and that might require more Overlords. So if he does spread creep, and now you got to move from here back to like right here. Now you still cover this exit, which is great. You can still have an Overlord like over here, which covers this exit, which is great. You can still see, like, as long as you see the entirety of an exit or an entrance to where he can't circumvent you. Like you wouldn't, for instance, you wouldn't want your Overlord like right here, which would leave a dark spot right there and a dark spot right here. Because if this guy decided to run around the side and then run around the bottom, you wouldn't even know he's pushing you, which is really bad. So as long as you see the entirety of an entrance or an exit, that's fine. So if you had an Overlord here, you see the whole exit, which is fine. Overlord here, You see this whole area, which is fine. So you have this whole area covered. No ground unit can circumvent you. But now you got to worry about the top side, which would mean this is not runnable. This is like a big ass like block here. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. But like this is now a problem and this is a problem. So you might need 2 more overlords now over here to have 1 there and 1 here. Because 1 overlord in the middle, it's going to be a bit rough for that to cover everything. But even though it probably could, you can probably see the edge of the top and the edge of the bottom ramp. I don't think you can fit through that, right? I'm pretty sure you can't. Like, I'm not used to this map, so I'm pretty sure you can't fit through this. I want to watch your legs pathing. Yeah, they just go around it. So it is rocks though. So that is destructible rock. You could kill that. So you may, like, eventually maybe even put another overlord like right there. So
Yeah.
that you would see that if it's ever gonna, like, probably not gonna become a problem if you're gonna get rushed. No one's gonna rush you and then kill rocks and then rush you after. It's really rare. But eventually later on that could be something nice that you cover with an overlord or creep. And then you're fine. And that's the thing too, right? Once you have creep in the area, you don't even need overlords here anymore. This is like pre-creep essentially. But definitely got to cover that a little bit better. I feel like that's probably also why you sometimes if you ever feel comfortable using lings, it's because you don't use your overlords well enough. So definitely think about logically about where you want to put your overlords to make sure that this safety you're feeling from the lings comes from the overlords instead. So anyways, kind of covered everything this game, but any questions about anything that happened this game that doesn't make sense?
Sorry, 1 second.
No problem. You're all good.
All right. So basically, what's really important is just making sure the mineral lines are always 16 out of 16.
Yep. That's a huge one, for sure. Yeah. Your economy being proper is definitely a massive thing you need. Like that is what you need to be able to fix and work on and make sure is always consistent to grow as a player, because it never goes away and it only needs to be faster as you get higher level. Like, if for instance, if you had a diamond player play against someone else who was taking too long to properly saturate mineral lines the right way, like they were just like lopsided all the time, and then also when those bases started mining out, it took too long for that player to fix it, and instead it was like only 8 patches are left, like 8 drones are left to mine patches, which means like half of them are gone instead of 16, but the player still had 15 out of 8 now. Like, players who do that kind of stuff and they leave their economy lopsided either too little or too much are the kind of players that will always just have like disadvantages going up against someone who can macro properly. So like, for instance, like I gave you the diamond example. If you played against someone in diamond, you're probably going to lose almost every time to someone like that, because I would say someone in diamond is going to be more or less consistent at always catching those things relatively early, as long as they're able to, you know, macro and do like the game as comfortable as they want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the kind of shit you got to really fix to get out of gold and get out of platinum. That is one of the biggest reasons. Like the biggest reason why people in gold and plat are in gold and plat is because their macro is having fundamental problems one way or another. And the ones we talked about for you, the biggest one of all for you was the lings last game, because not only did it make you not make workers, but it also made you not inject your base because you were using them as well. And then there were other mistakes too, obviously, but that was the biggest one for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll kind of speed through this one a little bit faster, but we'll kind of reference mistakes that I see, like last game again.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice expansion. Nicely timed. Nice stacking of your patches as well for the close patches. I love it. This one looks a lot cleaner. Your build this game is a lot better so far.
Yeah.
Okay, your gas is still too early though. Just a tad. Definitely start your gas at 20 supply. Like the second you get 20 supply, then start your gas. You started
Okay.
at 19 this game. It's not the biggest deal. So I'm not like, oh my god, you're fucked now. But it does do the same thing it did to you last game again, though, where it's going to give you, again, a little bit too much gas too fast that you don't need that fast. So definitely go for that 20 gas. Second Overlord, I would like it a little bit more, I would say just in general, same concept I just explained a second ago. It's ZVZ, so this is more of a ZVT and a ZVP kind of a thing, but you definitely want to make sure you have the entrance covered to your natural. Because right now, let's just hypothetically say this is Protoss, and he's like, probe is coming down here and going cannons, yeah, and you're like reading a book over here in your Overlord being like, everything seems fine.
Yeah.
And then suddenly hatchery finishes and there's fucking cannon shooting your hatchery and you're like, wait, what? Definitely got to make sure that Overlords are properly placed. All right. And then now, okay, quiz time again, really fast. And if you don't get it, it's totally fine. I just taught you a lot of shit, so I know a lot. This is pretty overwhelming. But I like quizzing you like this because it makes you think more actively.
Yeah.
Does this look normal to you or not? For what I see right here.
Yes.
Okay, the answer there actually is... Okay, I'm going to say it's no, but now I'm going to ask you a second reason. And think back, it's okay. Think back, if you remember, why do I think this is not normal? And I'll give you a hint. Remember the time.
It's a little bit later than mine.
Correct. Okay. And so that's... I'll give it to you right there, okay? Correct. So this is not normal because if we compare your base to his base, your hatchery is already done and his base is not done. And this whole bar here represents 71, okay? So hatchery takes 71 seconds to finish. So the health bar on it from beginning to completion is 71. And now if we take that number right there, the gray bars that we know don't exist yet, which is still needed build time, that probably represents like 12, 13, something like that, right? And if we look at it exactly, it's actually 17. Or sorry, 18. So that's definitely, you know, a ways out. It definitely does not look like yours. Now, another thing to remember is as I said before, 2 minutes on the game clock is exactly what you should be aiming for a standard build. So yours, if we just saw his base right now at 2:08, we shouldn't think, okay, well mine just finished at 2:08. Yours has definitely not been done at 2:08. Yours finished like 8 seconds ago. So if we go back to 8 seconds ago now and look at this, this is what it actually looked like when your hatchery finished. Like right about 2 minutes. You know, like yours is popping like right now. And his looks like that. It's even further back. So this is definitely fucked up. Like something is off here. And if you ever see something like this is the kind of player that goes pool first. If this guy would have gone hatchery first, it's ridiculous. This is like you went for a 16 hatch this game, which is great. If this guy would have gone hatchery first, this is like a 20 hatchery. Like it's so much later than yours. And it would never make sense to go 20 hatch. So it would only make sense that either this guy, one of two things happened here. His build is just severely fucked up and he was like AFK, which you should never think about the game that way. You should never, oh, my opponent just doesn't know how to play. So we'll just say that. Because if you think that, then obviously you're not going to take him seriously and it's going to probably give you a better chance to lose. Let's think logically about like, why is this late? It probably makes sense that this is late because he probably went pool first. Because it's the only reason why it should never be this late. And if we look at his base, his pool's done. And your pool is just now finishing, right? So how long ago was his pool done? Look at his queen. It's 23 seconds into build time already. His pool has been done for a long fucking time. So if you saw something like this with your Overlord, you were like, okay, this guy has a very late hatchery. Immediately pool first. And that means that there's one reaction you should have to something like this. It's not necessarily freak out, make lings, and go crazy. It's just make sure you never leave this unscouted now. Like you could back up now. It'd be fine. Because if this guy has pool first, he also means he could have a faster queen. And if you dive too deep, you might dive into a queen. But I would say you could back up to like right here and just make sure this never goes unscouted and pay a little bit of attention to the mini map now, just to see if he runs lings at you, because he totally can. And if he does, you have queens that can deal with it if it's really fast. If it's like an initial like 8 lings or something, which would not be that big of a deal. Like 2 queens could be pulled together and they could deal with it. But if like, let's just say about 40 seconds from now, you see again 16 lings leave his base, time to wall your base off.
Okay.
There you go, right? There's the queen being super fast.
Newly.
So that right here, right now, I hate your, like, I love that you saved it, okay? But I hate the position that it's at. This thing should be going left further and like down and back to there ASAP. And if you would have just not dove as deep and you would have backed up immediately, you wouldn't have got hit by the queen at all. Okay. But this is super scary for you now because now you don't know if you're going to go in. And if you like, I don't know where, in 40 seconds or 30 seconds, there could be 20 lings running at your base. And you're like, wait, what? Oh, they're coming right here. I have no time to react now because they're already at my base. So that's super scary for you. Yeah, then it dies too. So he made a creep tumor. You can tell by how far the creep is. So if he does that, if you were to see the creep, I'm going to quiz you one more time. Because I'm sorry to put you on the spot again.
Yeah.
But if you see a creep tumor, what are you going to do?
Move my overlord back.
And what else?
Put him in a better area and make more, well, put overlords near his base in the exits.
Good job. Okay, correct. Absolutely correct. Yeah. So it would be like if you have one over here right now, and that's the spot you want to cover. If you back up, it creates that, and that, which is now 1 becomes 3. So add 2 more to it. Pull 1 back to like right there. Put another one like right there. Put another one like right there. Or like over here somewhere or something. Perfect. Good job.
Queen birth successful.
Okay, your wall here is fucked. There are 2 holes in it. There's a hole right there, and there's a hole right there. And you have a chamber that's tucked back behind a massive wall here. So this is like not being utilized very well. I don't mind that you have a wall here. I don't mind that you have a wall here. But you need to make sure you only have one of them. So either this roach horn needed to be built where your creep timber is being built right now, like a little bit further down, and then you put like 1 gap here, which would be that wall opening, and your chamber would be like shifted down and into the right one, and this one would be down and to the right one as well. Or this roach horn would be shifted to be fair, if you shift it to the left, it's a bad wall again because you have 1 gap here. Never ever have 2 gaps, like 2 grid spots of gap.
Yeah.
So this just needs to be shifted to the right by 1. That's really what. Either this needs to be shifted to the right by 2, and this, if it was shifted to the right by 2, this needs to be shifted to the right by 1, or straight up, this just needs to be shifted to the right by 1, and then this is now the opening right here.
Yeah.
Because if you get all in now, they're just going to run to the right, and you're going to die. Okay, let's back it up for a second. I'm gonna look at your build specifically a little bit more one more time. I want to see your like layer timing and shit.
Swarm forces under attack.
Not too bad on the layer. Not too bad on the 3rd queen. I was only like 5 seconds late. It's not that bad. Definitely speed it up as much as you can though, but
yeah,
not that bad. Your roach torrent timing and your Evo chamber timing were good. You did supply block there though like crazy, which definitely sucked. So definitely just keep in mind, like I said before, you can do the trick of, okay, every time I inject, I make that many overlords, and that it's not perfect, but it will help you not supply block initially. But definitely try to keep an eyeball on your supply on top right, and always think to yourself, always think this, okay? Think to yourself, this is a good little rule of thumb to remember. When you are in the drone phase, okay, if you're ever in the drone phase, always try to be in a supply cushion of between 10 to 15. Okay? So always think to yourself, do I have 10 supply open still? No? Okay, start an overlord. And then as soon as the overlord spawns and you make more units and you look at it again and go, do I have 10 supply cushion still? Or between 10 to 15? If the answer is no, make an overlord.
Okay.
So if you have like 6, definitely make an overlord. And then what it changes into is as soon as it turns into starting to make roaches, bump that up to like 15 to 20. Because roaches are more supply expensive. So now if you're like, okay, well now I'm going to start making roaches. Do I have anywhere above 15 supply, somewhere like 15 to 20? No? Okay, make an overlord. But if you're, let's just say you have like 35 supply cushion, don't make an overlord. Like spin it a little bit and then get back to that threshold again. That's one way to do it. Like that's an efficient way to do it, but that requires you to look up there a lot. But if you're always fucking it up and you're like, ah, God, I have too many things I'm trying to do right now. I'll worry about that a little bit more later. I need to get like the build down a little bit better in terms of just like watching my hatcheries, watching my creep, watching my injects. I'm not really comfortable with this yet. There's too much at once. Then just do yourself a favor and go, okay, how many injects am I doing? 1, 2 overlords. Just like I said before about how every time you make a creep timber, pair that with making all timbers that are active spreading as well. Every time you inject your bases, pair that with making one overlord per injected base. And that'll help you with your mechanics at learning the game, I feel like. You definitely got to do both of those, though. I definitely need more creep spread, and you definitely need more non-supply blocky stuff. Overall, though, okay, so you're doing it again here. Your overall build is mostly okay. Like this time around, it's a lot better than last time. It's definitely cleaner. But the one thing you're fucking up again is the layer priority and the lack of the layer usage. That is such a big priority. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how much this upgrade is going to make or break your defense versus aggression. Like, it will literally make a world of difference versus all 3 races. And it's not even about micro, like, okay, well, now you can stutter step, and now you can kite. It's about, like, if the guy attacks you over here, or if he attacks you over here, or if he attacks you over here, or if he attacks you over here with a drop or something like that, your roaches now not only get there faster, and getting there faster changes how well the fight can go for you sometimes. If your opponent's currently setting up and you're there already, the fight drastically goes better for you. And it also makes your roaches engage faster, too, because they set up the concave in a cleaner fashion, because they're not waddling as slow anymore. They're getting there super quick, so they concave out super fast. And it increases your DPS. Even though it's a movement speed upgrade, it actually increases your DPS. Because DPS in this game, for both sides, like, imagine, like, the redcoats, okay? Like, that logic, where it's like, you stand in a fucking line, you load a musket, you shoot forward, and you die, and someone else walks in his place. It's kind of like that in StarCraft 2. And if your units have really fast move speed, they fill in the gaps super fast, and they like become a line that's full the whole time. But if your units are slower, somebody falls over and dies, and a unit takes twice as long to get over there and waddles into its place, and it misses a shot it could have taken, essentially. So you want to definitely get that upgrade ASAP. It changes everything about your defense. Like, so good for you. Okay, another thing I would say, this is a little tip here. Make sure when you take your 3rd base the way you did, have your roaches go to your 3rd and have your queen sit in your doorway.
Okay.
So when you're in the phase where you're going, all right, I'm going to make drones again, your drones can run through the queen, and it's fine because they can mineral walk through it, and your roaches can protect the 3rd. And if the guy decides to attack your natural, your queen buys time in the wall for your roaches to come back and help the queen. But you wouldn't have lost the 3rd if you did that. And then that now sucks for you because that slows you down like crazy. Okay, so you scout with a changeling. And 99 times out of 100, I would say I love it. But I actually don't want you to do this stuff right now. Because I want, like, this is something that's, for instance, the reason why I don't want you to do this is because this only matters if this is perfect. But if this isn't perfect, even if you scout and you were to make a read, like, I'm going to try to explain this in a way that's not confusing. If you were to have a perfect scout and a perfect read, it doesn't matter if you can't have a proper reaction because your build's fucked.
Yeah.
So if your build is already fucked a little bit in one way or another, like you're having problems with your macro, all this becomes is a distraction. Because I don't feel like if this is fucked, it means that the game right now is at a point for you that is not like fluid enough or like automated enough. You're basically not playing the game enough in your subconscious And that is, it sounds weird, but it's actually really important to know that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, imagine like, it'd be like, here's an analogy for you. Imagine having a guy who you're like teaching how to play basketball, and he can't even dribble the ball yet without even thinking about it. And he's talking about doing like dunks and shit. He's like, I'm going to do a fucking dunk from behind. I'm going to like do a spin 180 dunk it. And you're like, bro, as you're approaching the rim of the net, like you're running forward, you dribble the ball on your foot and it bounces forward. You can't even catch the ball anymore. It like goes away from you. And he like jumps up without a ball in his hands and he like touches the net. And he like just looks awkward as fuck, right? It's kind of like that when you get someone trying to scout and read builds before they can do their own build. So this is just a distraction. It's the exact same thing as the Lings were to you before. I don't think this is going to help you. It's just going to hurt you for now. I think the Overlords are great, the way we talked about earlier, because it's just like you watch him cross it, and if he crosses it, it alerts you to going, oh, I'm getting attacked right now. Let's start making roaches if I'm still in the Germ phase. And that's fine. But I think trying to read his build and go, how much gas do you have? What is your tech? What does your mineral line look like? This is just too much. Because it's just going to it's going to make you not think about your build. And it's going to take you, it takes you, like, this is where the subconscious thing comes into play, okay? If you have to use your conscious thought process to do your build, it means that anytime you add anything to that, it disrupts your thought process and it disrupts your build. The only time you should ever be worrying about your opponent's build, realistically, like to this extent, is when your build is a subconscious thought. It's not actually, it's something that's automated. You don't even think about it. You just do it. It's so automated for you because you've done it so many times. You don't even use your brain to think about it. And then you could you could literally be distracted by something like this, and your hands still have muscle memory to do your build at the same time. So you need to get to that point before you start worrying about your opponents that much. So that's something I see that you've done twice now. I love your attempts at scouting. I like that you want to do it, but I don't think you're ready for it just yet. And I think you should give yourself more time to get, like, I think you should like worry about your build a bit more and test yourself and get to like Platinum League and then once you get to Platinum League, this is the perfect way to test yourself, okay? Without having to like talk to me again or something like that. Once you get to Platinum League and you feel like you're like, okay, well, everything Vibe said starting to like make sense, and I feel like I'm crushing these fucking players in StarCraft right now. Pay attention to the like some of the games you played that you felt were good, that got you into Platinum League. I guarantee you'll get there, okay? If you do this, write down a couple timers throughout the game, okay? Like, remember, I don't know if you know the notepad trick I did, but do that to one of your games. If you don't know what that is, okay, you do. Okay, so good. Yeah. And anybody who doesn't, just go watch the intro to B2GM, and it's right there. I explain all about what that means. It's just timer in the game. It's my opening series, or my opening video to the whole series of B2GM for 2021. But if you do that to one of your games you get to Platinum with, then start playing in Platinum and start trying to scout. And if you have it doesn't matter if you win or lose, just do a game where you scout and then save the replay and now compare it to one of the games you felt you played well in where you didn't really scout and you just focused on just fucking perfecting the build and see if you're even doing it properly still. Because I guarantee with the games that you scout and the games that you don't scout, you're going to see there's a difference. You're going to be like, holy fuck, I am so much cleaner when I don't scout. And it's something obviously you'll have to eventually scout more eventually, like and you know, when it comes time to do it. But the more you're subconsciously macroing, the better you'll scout in the future, like every time. So just keep practicing it and just keep comparing yourself to it and always know, okay, well, what am I, like then it kind of like shows you where your problems are, where it's like the one I spotted for you a second ago with the Zergling one, where I was like, okay, these Lings are fucking you because you're not injecting and you missed 2 waves of inject. You're not spending your larva. You're not spending your creep. You'll notice it like that and be like, and then the next time when you scout, you'll be like, oh shit, okay, well, I do notice I spend like 30 seconds looking at his base or something like that, and that's way too long. Like I'm spending way too much time looking at the base, and I need to like really throttle that back a bit and really make sure I'm not missing my macro cycles here. And it makes you aware of your problem, and then you fix it and you clean it up, and then it becomes better. So that's huge for you. I would say that's something you should work on later. But for now, definitely just perfect your build. Really work on perfecting it. Yeah.
Would you recommend like going into custom matches versus no one and then just doing it over and over again, or just do it on rank?
So this is my honest opinion about that, and I would say that is fine. But it's a different experience when someone is distracting you. So don't make it a crutch where you think that that's going to always apply perfectly to a real game. I would say you do it as more of a, like, think about it as more of a warm-up than it is a real practice.
Okay.
So I totally am cool with you to do it, to, like, you know, once or twice to be like, cool, well, now I'm ready for a ladder game. But don't do it 50 times in a row being like, I'm ready, because you're not.
Yeah.
It's never going to prepare you fully because it's not a real opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Enemy assaulting drones.
Yeah, and then so in this particular game too, you're getting attacked, and I do think you made too many roaches.
Okay.
So it sounds scary, it sounds crazy, but if you had like 6 to 8 roaches and you had it over here faster at your third, you could have saved it and saturated it super fast. But now you're in a position that's a little bit weird, where I would genuinely say you're about a full minute behind where you want to be, because you took a little bit of damage because your units were not placed properly, and it slowed your build down. And then you also slowed your build down again by overreacting by making too many roaches and undermaking drones when you eventually made the drones anyways. So you got to the drone count you wanted to later, which meant you got to the... So far, like, you've mined less resources overall than you would have had otherwise this game. And I get it. You're afraid you're going to die. But if you just macro as flawlessly as you can with, like, the build, this could never have killed you up to 8 minutes anyways. And this is going to be the case for, like, 99% of your games in Gold League. I'm dead serious. A lot of people overestimate what their opponents are capable of. They're like, oh, well, I feel like I could die. I don't know what's going on right now. He's probably all-inning me. But if you just get to the ideal saturation as quick as possible and don't waste any time, and you start then getting to the point where you can pump out army for real. That's why I really made the cycles of when you get to fully saturated 3 bases, roach up to 120 supply, like that shit right there. If you do that, you fucking crush people like this all the time. You really do. Because look at what this guy's doing. This is a lot of lings, right? He's running around a lot, and he's got 2,500 minerals in the bank. And this is normal for Gold League. This is like almost every gold player. This is what I would expect from gold. This is absolutely standard. So because what he's doing right now is he's distracting the shit out of himself, and he's trying to distract you. And even though he got more damage done to you than you did to him, he feels like he's probably doing a great job, right? He's like, oh, I'm fucking owning this guy. I've killed a lot of stuff. Yet you're crushing him in supply, and you're crushing him in overall, like, efficiency. So you're still ahead. Like, you're still way ahead this game right now.
Enemy swarm forces.
And then now he's kind of giving you the runaround. So that's a moment where you want to really be careful. Just, like, if this is the kind of player he is, a good tip to deal with someone like this is genuinely, if you either have the wall blocked, that would be fine, that would work, or a cool tip here, take your hatchery, rally it to the mineral line. Take this hatchery, rally it to the mineral line. Take this hatchery, rally it to the mineral line, and just make roaches and hydras.
Okay.
And then don't even touch your army. Be like, cool. I'll just, you know, I could take a 4th base, rally it to the mineral line. And you could be like rally all your hatcheries to that mineral line or something. Or you could even be like, okay, army, group up. Like, if I'm going to take a 4th now and I want it to be protected, army, group up, 1/4 of it, go here, 1/4 of it, go here, 1/4 of it, go here, 1/4 of it, go here. Just green box it and move it there and stop touching it.
Okay.
And I'm not even kidding. If you have your army tucked between a hatchery and a mineral line, and you're fighting against pure lings, and you have like 10 roaches and like 5 hydras per base, let's just hypothetically say that's what you have. It's not going to be perfect, obviously, but you have like a decent amount of supply at every base. You will take such good trades against lings like that, especially if he's the kind of player that's like, I'm going to run over here and run over here and run over there and run over here. You will crush players like that. People who go for economy harass, just put shit in your mineral lines and just make it, get to 200 supply, and then go attack his base. And you will fucking murder him, because you'll make it so hard for him to attack you. And then once you attack, you can make like static D.
Newly birthed.
Because like right now,
Ready.
if he does more counterattacks like he is, right? Like you're exposed, you're exposed, you're exposed, you're exposed over here. You're defending the middle of nowhere. So if you had the mineral lines covered, you would crush. And you can see once your Hydras ever make contact, mutas just fall apart and die.
Yeah.
And the big reason why is because one Hydra straight up beats one muta. That's a fact. Like 0-0 upgrades, a Hydra does more DPS than a muta, and it actually kills it in the fight. It has way better attack speed. It just out DPSs. It hits harder and it has a faster attack speed that outweighs the 30 hit point advantage that a muta has. But also, not only that, your Hydras have move speed. They have range. Sorry, they have range. They don't have move speed yet, but they do have range, which is great. But they have 2-2 upgrades, and his mutas are 0-0. And this is going to be standard because you've been upgrading this since the start of the game, early on. And he just made a Spire. So he only has one of them as well. So if he is even getting an upgrade at all, it's not done yet. And it's just one upgrade. So you are crushing him. Like, your Hydras not only could beat him at 0-0 versus 0-0, but it's 2-2 versus 0-0. So essentially what that means is if you had like 5 Hydras fighting 5 mutas, you'd win anyways. But now if you have like 3 Hydras fighting 5 mutas, you'd probably still win anyways because they're 2-2 versus 0-0. So logic, like the point is why this is relevant is if he has 15 mutas and you have 30 Hydras and one of your bases has 11, one of your bases has 9, and one of your bases has 10, you're still going to win no matter what base he goes to. 9 Hydras would still beat 15 mutas if it's 2-2 versus 0-0. You would crush him. And you also have a queen there too, right? Just gotta leave your units kind of scattered, sitting around, and you would, yeah, it would just make this so much easier. And he's just giving you the runaround, which is slowing you down like crazy. But you're still gonna max out faster than him. And right now, if you're maxed out like this, just go. Literally, I know you're like. Here's the scary thing too. You don't even have a drone count anymore. You're not at the ideal number, but you're still maxed, which means your army size is fucking huge. If you just go right now, you're probably going to win the game. Like, very high chance of you winning. The only way you wouldn't win is if this guy has a bunch of Banes that just roll into your Hydras and then he kills you with mutas. But, again, you shouldn't be microing. You should just go. And if he doesn't have Banes, which he actually doesn't right now, he doesn't have any Banelings, you could kill him. This is what's going to kill you if you wait, the Ultra Den. Like, that will become a problem for you, probably, eventually. Like right now, you should just go attack. I love that you attack. I can totally see you winning this game right now if you just... this is all you got to do, okay? This is what your command should be right now. A move, shift A move, shift A move, shift A move. Don't even touch your... Like, don't even look at this army ever again. Who gives a fuck what happens? Does not matter. Behind this, every unit that dies, and it opens up some supply, try to fix some economy, try to fix some economy, try to fix your economy, fix your economy, fix your economy. Like, your main looks, it could be fixed a little bit. Natural is perfect. Third base could be fixed a little bit. This base could be built. This base could obviously use some love because it's just starting. And then behind that, when you make your units, make a couple static D structures. Make like a spine and make a spore and like a couple spines. Spore and like 1 or 2 spines. Spore, 1 or 2 spines. And keep making drones. Get up to like 70 plus 80 drones ish, and then go and then don't miss injects. And then rebuild your army. Start 3-3 as well. And you already are starting one of them, which is great. Like, just continue to macro while this is all happening. Fix your economy, and then go right back into making units again. And this is going to be a problem that's going to exist for your opponent for a long time right now. And it would become another problem that he would deal with right after it, where he can't really counterattack you very well because you have static D8 at your bases. And you also have a new army that's just being built to replace as this one dies. But I totally feel like you're going to... Like, I honestly think if you... just have this army attack the way I just said, I feel like you're going to win the game right now. I actually think you just win right here.
Yeah.
Like, this army is fucking strong because it's 2-0, 0-1 versus 2-2, soon to be 3-2. Your army is super strong right now. Feel Ultras just like fucking just immediately die. Like, I totally think you're going to crush to win here. And imagine behind this if you're just macroing the way we just talked about. So much time is going by where you're just keeping him busy. So I love how you're attacking. I love it. Like, what are you looking at right now? Okay, I don't, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what you... So, like, everyone's always tempted, right? You're always tempted to look at the army and shit and be like, how's it going? Can I do anything here? Like, am I winning or losing? But Yeah, like if you're just really optimizing as fast as you can, creep spread, fix your economies, fix your upgrades, all that, fix our bases that are undersaturated now, or oversaturated rather, all this shit, fix it, fix.
Yeah.
It just makes your follow-up stronger. But you crushed him anyways, right? I'm really glad you attacked there. That was the right thing to do.
Mhm.
But imagine how much faster and cleaner this attack would have gone if you just spread your units out, and every time you attacked your... Like, that wasn't even close, right? You fucking murdered him. And imagine how those lings would have felt running into roaches and hydras that have upgrades over them. Like, you have carapace and weapons, and he's running lings into you in the mineral lines. And then he's got 0/0 mutas later than that, running into the mineral lines again versus a bunch of hydras that are 2/2. Like, you would have slaughtered his units. You would have maxed out faster. And instead of pushing right about now, when he's at 170 supply, you could have pushed about 2 minutes ago when he was maybe at like 120 because he's too busy trying to micro with 5,000 minerals in the bank. Like this guy, this is what happens when you try to play fancy and over micro, right? You're like, I'm fucking 7K, 6.5K. I'm crazy. Like that's such a big bank because this guy is trying to use a composition that is like crazy on the counterattack and multi-prong. He's basically like, I watched Cyril do a style or like Lambo do something that I'm trying to emulate right now. But Lambo and Cyril or whoever doesn't have, between all their queens, like 400 energy just sitting there not injecting. You know, this guy does because he's not able to keep up with it all. So your build is much cleaner, much easier to execute, that's why B2GM is what it is. It's more of a macro teaching process. It's not trying to overwhelm you really early, and it just crushes because you just have so much more. And you're doing a great job spending your money for what you have. Like you're keeping your money down. You're taking damage in the process. You're definitely doing a good job dealing with, like, obviously if you take the tips I said a second ago, it would feel easier to deal with aggression. But for what it is, where you're taking a lot of damage, you're doing a good job still maintaining spending your resources. You're not just completely falling apart and having also like 3,000 in the bank and no army while you take damage because you're freaking out. So that's good for you at least. So anyways, a lot to talk about, or we talked about a lot there. Do you have any final questions about anything we just went over?
Not really. I just kind of just need to play a lot more.
No, for sure.
Because I think I only have like 25 games or something.
Like in total?
This season.
I was about to say, holy fuck, you're a goddamn prodigy at StarCraft. No, that's cool though. Yeah, I understand. But yeah, I just let it sink in, let it work on it. I'll make this a VOD as well. I'll edit it out later tonight and I'll send it to you in Discord chat that we have by like tomorrow. And then I definitely recommend maybe like once a week or like once every like month or something, or once every couple weeks, come back to this and just get a refresher, because I guarantee there's a lot of stuff we talked about that will be forgotten because it's so much.
Yeah.
So if you listen to it a couple more times here and there, you'll catch things that you've forgotten by now, and you're like, oh fuck, that's actually a good tip, and it applies to me now because I feel better at macroing, and I feel it's becoming more of a subconscious thought now, and I'm getting cleaner at it, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But anyways, dude, thank you very much for doing a coaching lesson.
Thanks for having me and doing it so quickly.
Yeah, no worries. We actually still ended when we would have normally ended, so it works out perfectly for you. But yeah, man, much love. I'll send it to you by tomorrow, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. And yo, much love, dude.
All right, see you later.
All right, later, man.
Bye.
All right, guys, that has been a coaching lesson with our boy Heated Dragon. This is a gold level lesson. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a little bit of a B2GM application here. But thanks for watching, guys. Check out more videos if you liked it, and I will see you in the next one. And until then, much love. Take it easy. Good luck. And peace.